All right, y'all ready?
Let's roll.
Hey, Jimbo, you ready for this deal?
Cock your hammer, Cody.
Cock the hammer.
Old stories like long lost friends, rodeos and late night bends, history before our time, round pens and pasture rides, cowboys of the Osage.
Howdy, friends and neighbors. Time once again for the Cowboys of the Osage podcast with your host, Jimbo Snively and Cody Garnett. Now let's sing a little bit about it. Cowboys of the Osage, riding once again. Always got some time for a friend. And here they are, the Cowboys of the Osage.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Cowboys of the Osage podcast, brought to you by the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum and the Buck and Flamingo Turquoise Shop. Hey, it's old Cody over here, and as all, I got to redo that.
Why?
Because I messed it up.
Well, that just adds a little character to the podcast.
Okay, we'll just leave it just like that.
Leave it like that. That won't be the last mess up.
Okay. Hey, it's old Cody over here, and as always, I have my main man with me, Mr. Rodeo Historian himself, Jimbo Snively. Good morning, Jimbo. Who the heck are we talking to today?
Hey, Cody boy, it's another great day in Osage, Cody. And Cody, everybody knows about Shorty's Caboy, Hattery, down at the Stockyards.
That's right.
One of the biggest names in the Western hat world, actually.
No doubt about it.
And a lot of people don't know that she's from right over here in Gray Horse, Western Osage County.
I know, it was a surprise to me. We had to get her in the museum and on the podcast.
She's a member of the National Cowgirl Hall of Fame, and just all sorts of, she's the official hat company for all sorts of associations, too many to even name here. And also we got Bobbie Gough with us today. She's going to sit in. She's part of that whole deal down there. And we're going to have a nice visit, get into all that. And gals, welcome to the Cowboys of the Osage podcast.
Thank you so much. We're glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you.
Excited.
Raised up over at Gray Horse. What was the life like over at Gray Horse at that time?
It's fabulous.
Well, did your dad, was he a cowboy or worked in the oil field?
No, my dad worked in the oil field.
Yeah, that's where everybody worked in.
Yeah. And it was just great.
Who did he work for?
He worked for Continental Oil Company.
Continental.
Yeah.
That was a part of the old Naval Reserve.
Yes, that oil camp down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cody, you ever heard of the Naval Reserve?
No, I hadn't, Jimbo.
Well,
He's way behind.
He's way behind. Back during World War I, the Osages actually allotted about 5,000 acres of their best oil production to the United States Navy to use in World War I, or they didn't want them to run out during World War I. It was just kind of a safety measure. This is for the Navy's use only, this oil production. And the Osages, and then the Navy after the war, the Osages actually, the Navy actually gave it back to the Osages in 1927. I think it was about 10 years. They had it for about 10 years, had all that production. And it was really a great thing that they did that for the country. You know, that doesn't get talked about enough, but they gave them all that production as to get us through World War I. But anyway, and it's still called, the old timers like me, they still call it the Naval Reserve out there.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, I learn something new every day, Jimbo.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did you go to school in Gray Horse?
I did.
Yeah. And is that building still there?
It's still there, but it's,
it's disrepair, isn't it? Yeah.
Very. It's bad. Yeah. But, I went there from first grade I left there when I was between the 5th and 6th grade.
Yeah. What caused you all to move?
Daddy got transferred in the oil business, which I hated. Hated where I was, where we had to move.
Where'd you move to?
Moore, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Well, that was like moving to New York City to me.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, it was quite different.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So I guess Fairfax was that was going to town when you went to Fairfax, wasn't
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Or Ralston, maybe. Maybe they went to the
And
big town
we
of Ralston
even,
every
Mother
now and then.
sometimes would come here and bring me, and we'd do her grocery shopping here in Pawhuska.
Where'd you go here in Pasco? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Might have been right here where we're sitting.
Probably not. Later on, it was a Safeway store, but
Okay.
before that, it wasn't.
Yeah, I don't really remember.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like there was a grocery store in Fairfax at the time.
May not have been.
But anyway, yeah, we went there every once in a while. They'd take me in on a Saturday because it was full of, it was very busy and cowboys everywhere. And that's where I saw the two cowboys, or actually there was three, but I have a hard time remembering the third one. But it was Ben Johnson and Randolph Scott. And I don't remember who the other guy was, but they was always dressed up in their cowboy clothes, their breeches, have beautiful boots, breeches tucked in, big old hat, wild rag. And I thought, I want to grow up and look just like them.
Right.
So I guess I started this ambition when I was a child, very young.
Right.
But it's been fabulous, and I got to give the Lord all the glory, though, because without him, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Well, when you moved to Moore, had you participated in rodeo some, didn't you?
Actually, I did not. I didn't really start rodeo until I was in high school.
Okay.
Actually, no, I wasn't either. I was out of high school about a year or two. And but my sisters were married to cowboys here outside of Fairfax. Used to be remember the Johnson Ranch? It was so huge. Or
I probably wouldn't know.
No, you wouldn't know about that. But anyway, one of my sisters married the guy that his father owned that and ran that ranch. And then my other sister was married to someone that had a ranch in Sedan, Kansas. So I'd go there and spend the summers, and that's where I started learning how to ride and thinking I was going to be a cowboy one day.
Well, what did you do in the rodeo?
Well, I run barrels. They had an event then called steer undecorating, which is just like bulldogging, only you don't get off the steer. Right. And then I tried a few bulls.
How'd that go?
It didn't go so good.
Me and Jimbo go by the motto, once they get too big to rope, we eat them.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
And we're going to stick with that, too.
Oh, yeah. She said something about Randolph Scott. Somebody was telling me here just the other day, Randolph Scott had a lot of oil leases out by Fairfax. He was in the oil business. Mm-hmm. Did you know anything about that?
No, not really. I was too young. I just admired him, and every Western movie on TV that he was in, I always watched it because it was like I know that guy. Even though I was 6 or 7, I still knew him.
I had a great friend out in Fairfax area, and he was an old steer roper, John Tallchief. Did you know him very well?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. I sure did.
Good fella. What do you know about John Tallchief, Jimbo?
Oh, he was a steer roper, made the finals one year. I think he won a go-around at Cheyenne and made the finals. Real nice guy. Knew him quite well, and his brother George. And there was another old steer roper over there. I don't know if you knew him by the name of Buster Lashley. Do you remember him?
No, I don't.
Yeah. He roped some steer. He used to come out to our house and rope with my grandpa.
What about old C.R. Boucher over there? Did you know him very well?
I did. I knew him when he was married to Reba McEntire.
Really? I didn't know C.R. was married to Reba.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Short time, but yes.
I knew Charlie Battles was, but I didn't know C.R. was. That's a small world out there.
Well, what made you how'd you get in the hat business?
Well, my brother had sent a couple of hats off to have them renovated after our father died.
Yeah.
And now he never was a cowboy, but he'd buy and trade cattle and do all that. And he was kind of like me. We acted like we knew what we was doing, whether we did or not. So anyway, when we got the hats back, they'd ruined them, put too much stiffener on them. And my brother just made the comment, as much as you love hats, you should get in the hat cleaning business. Well, in the 60s, 68, I had a Western store for 2 or 3 years till I lost my father. And that's how I taught myself how to shape hats. because I intentionally ordered them in. I think most of them came open crown at the time. And so that forced me to learn how to shape them. And that's how I just started trying, doing different things, doing different shapes, because I watched Westerns, so I had an idea,
Right.
So trial and error.
Did you ever make a Randolph Scott hat?
No, I'd love to, but I didn't.
Bobbie, where'd you grow up at?
Well, I grew up in Bryan College Station, Texas,
Ooh.
home of the fighting Texas Aggies. But
Yes, sir. Ma'am,
yeah,
sorry.
So
Are you an Aggie fan? Still?
I kind of, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not
I
even.
didn't know you could be a little bit of Aggie
Well,
fan.
it's one of those things that
I'm kinda sensitive.
I am an Aggie fan, but I'm not really crazy about college sports anymore. So
Okay.
I think the transfer portal's got us all messed
Oh,
up.
it has messed it all
Who are you a
up.
fan of, Shorty? OSU?
Yeah.
That's right.
But I do root for Texas when they're playing other teams.
Yeah.
She never does. I don't know
Don't
what the deal
either.
is.
You got it right.
They got a
Don't
little bit
never
of
root for
rivalry
Texas.
going on over there.
Right on. Like my mother goes, I can't wear anything orange.
Right.
But I had some friends of mine that played ball at Texas, and I like their women's sports there because I used to follow their women's sports really well,
Right.
and I was an athlete in college and stuff. So but I think that all the collegiate stuff right now is upside down.
Yeah, it's
That's
all
all I gotta
messed
say
up.
about it.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Just keep that under the table.
Yeah.
But I grew up in Bryan College Station, and my family all were either rodeo people or road cutting horses, and I still have family members that still rodeo. My cousin Tony Arena is a tripper.
I know Tony really well.
Yeah,
Good friend of
Tony
mine.
and Kelly. Kelly's my first cousin, and all their kids all rodeo and ride, and their spouses or boyfriends all ride and rope, and so it's kind of been a great tour for me too.
Yeah, it seems like all those girls married a good cowboy down
That's
there.
right. Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
For sure.
You know, Tony, he won the average at the steer open finals here a while back. Made the calf open finals once or a few times.
Yeah. He's a good hand.
Tony
Yeah,
the
I think
Tiger, that's what I call him.
I think he missed one this year for the world.
He may have.
No, I think so.
He may have.
Kelly told. But no, they're a good family, and they're a good Christian family, and they got good values, and I'll stay with them as long as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I had an uncle of mine that was high school finals. He was the all around in 1954. My dad, them all rodeoed, and then my other uncle, that's Kelly's daddy, Ray Dyer. He was a bareback rider, and we used to pack the truck and haul down the road with my Aunt Kathy and my uncle Ray, and we had all the rodeos, and I'd be in the calf scrambles, and I'd help groom the horses for my Aunt Kathy and stuff. So it was a lot of fun traveling with them in the summertime.
Speaking of rodeo, Shorty, I read in an article where, heck, you were a part bootlegger rodeoing.
Well, actually, I was, but it was too much fun because, when I didn't really have a lot of money, so I thought, well, Coors Beer was not in Texas at the time, and it was in Oklahoma, and everybody loved Coors Beer. So this is when I had my Western store. So I would go by, I'd load up Wrangler jeans, I'd go by Piggly Wiggly. That was a grocery store back then, and I bought
Yeah.
We still have one in Collinsville.
Yeah, I bought every case of beer they had in a Coors, and I'd head to the rodeos, and people got used to me doing that, so it was quite funny. It would be like a swarm of bees coming to my truck and trailer. So that's how I was able to enter rodeos and get to different places. But it was a lot of fun. I guess I've always been some type of peddler. I just didn't know it.
Well, how'd you go from the Western store to the Shorty's Caboy Hattery?
Well, I did lots of things. I had a janitorial service. I helped a guy with a security system business. I helped him build that. And then, this is crazy, but I had another good friend that was putting in a Subway when Subways just started many years ago.
Right.
And he needed me to help him over there. So I helped him lay the floor. We did everything from the floor up. And so then he wanted me to go to work for him and make sandwiches. And that's not really my cup of tea, but at the moment I had to do something.
Right.
So, and I'll never forget, my sisters walked in Subway. They had never seen me there making sandwiches. And they said, we were sitting down to eat, and they said, Shorty, you're going to have to find a different occupation. I said, well, why? And she says, we can't stand seeing you back there making sandwiches. Well, make a long story short, the guy fired me. Anyway, my friend fired me, so then I think it wasn't too long after that until this hat invention came along. And my brother told me that. I probably spent at least a year trying to figure out, because number one, back then there was like 12 hatters in the whole United States, and nobody would help you.
Right.
And
Nobody would give up any of the secrets how to do it.
Nothing. And if they did, they wanted like $1,500 for 2 days, and I didn't have any money, so I thought, well, I can't do that. Well, then a friend of mine came to see me one day and said, I'm going to pick up a hat over at this guy's house. She said, you want to go with me? And I said, well, yeah. I said, who is this guy? She said, well, his name's Shorty, and he is supposed to be making a hat for me. And I said, I'm thinking, oh, wow, this is going to work. This is right up my alley. Anyway, I went over there with her, and he had it in his little tool shed at his house. I mean, it was like not even 500 square feet. And that's what he did. He renovated hats, and he made a few custom hats for people. But I went over there with her and looked everything over, and I didn't want to bring up anything then, so I thought I'll just come back in a few days and talk to him. So I did, and I asked him, I said, are you ever willing to sell this shop? And he said, as a matter of fact, I am selling it. I have a buyer already. And of course, my heart just sunk, and I thought, oh, this is not good. So anyway, I said, well, when's the buyer coming? And he told me Monday at 10 o'clock. And I said, okay. I said, but if I'm here and he doesn't show up, will you allow me to buy it? And he said, oh, absolutely. Because he said, I need money he was wanting to get into politics. So he needed campaign money. So I talked to my brother and sisters and asked them, how are we going to do this, and can you help me? Excuse me. So he needed $20,000 for the business. So they all put in $5,000. I went and borrowed my $5,000, and I had the check all written out. And so it was about 3 minutes after 10. I kept looking down the road, see if anybody was coming, see if I could see any dust coming up the road.
Oh, you're sitting there at his place.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm pacing. Been doing it for 30 minutes. So about 3 minutes after 10, I said, doesn't look like they're going to show up, does it? And he said, no. And I said, well, are you ready? He said, yeah, I am. So I handed him my check, and there we go. Had not a clue what I was doing.
Been an uphill climb ever since.
Off to the races.
Yeah.
Off to the races was right.
For over and under and for quickness, I guarantee.
But, this is my 35th year.
Now, did he have any employees that came with
No,
that or anything? So
nothing,
you're just on your own.
And not to mention, I'm left-handed. He was right-handed. He couldn't teach me anything.
Right.
So his mother happened to be left-handed.
Right.
So she would come out and teach me how to do, and I wasn't a sewer. I flunked home ec, so, and you had to sew quite a bit of stuff. So
Were you just cleaning hats or making hats then?
I was just cleaning them.
Cleaning them.
I didn't even try to make a hat till I was in business about 2-3 years, and I kept looking at this machine over there, and I kept thinking, if I can clean a hat, I bet I could make a hat. So then, Shorty didn't help me at all as far as teaching me anything. He was going to, but he was busy campaigning, so his mother helped me some, and his daddy showed me or talked me through it on the telephone, how to use the blocking machine. And now this is a funny story. At that time,
Well,
of course,
talk about when you were up on Britton Road and Western, and before you went to the Stockyards.
Yeah, well, okay. I got a little shop there not too far from where he was, so I could continue to keep his clientele and teach them to start depending on me. And so he had this beer keg, and it was it was in a metal frame, and for his pop-off valve, he had a pipe going up and a golf ball baling wired on it.
Okay.
And so you lit the fire underneath to boil your water, to get steam to your blocking machine.
Okay.
Well, I didn't learn that till I got down to Stockyards because I didn't want to go to Stockyards and wait on them cowboys and not know what I was talking about. So anyway, when I got down to Stockyards, I kept thinking, okay, I'm going to try it. I'm going to see what happens here. So I called his daddy, and he walked me through how to turn the boiler on. Like, it was a boiler, but it was a beer keg, and how to use the fingers on that blocking machine to pull the hats and all that. And he couldn't come down. I think he was crippled or something. But anyway, he helped me through all that. But after I'd been there about 6 months, the fire department has to come in and make sure everything you've got's up to par and whatnot. Well, hello.
Walk-in inspection.
Yeah. The golf ball belly wired on the end of the deal of the beer keg
Yeah,
boiler.
the pop-off valve was
They didn't like that?
barbed wire.
Well,
it only gets better.
yeah, at that time, I smoked, and I kept wondering why I had headaches. So the fireman walked in, and he said, "What's this right here?" And he was looking at my beer keg. And I said, "Well, that's how I'm going to start making my hats." He said, "I'll be right back." I said, "Okay." He come back, and he put this big old orange thing on my beer keg and slapped it on there, and he said, do you know that you could have blown up this whole block?" He said, and you're smoking on top of that.
Had a gas leak.
I said, well, I wonder why I kept having headaches.
Had a gas leak.
Anyway, that was pretty, and it took me about 5 years because those boilers back then was $1,500.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't have it, and now they're like $7,000. But anyway, that was a pretty funny story. I wished I'd have kept that darn beer because no one would have believed. I put it up front in the window for display and put a saddle on it.
It wasn't very long ago when a guy bought a hat, it was always a good hat, and when it got time to clean it, you just send it off and have it clean, and it'd come out back looking brand new. Now it seems like, 95% of the hats they sell are just throwaway hats. You couldn't even get them clean and reblocked now.
Well, everybody's in the hat business now.
They're hard to get, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I know.
I had tried to buy a hat for like over a year. Couldn't find one even that I wanted to buy. Didn't make it down to Oklahoma City to see you girls.
Well, you need to.
Yeah, I do for sure. The next hat I buy is coming straight from y'all. No doubt about it.
Well, guess what? There won't be a charge on it. Just come on down. Let me fix you up.
Well, they'll become the official hat of the Cowboys of the Osage podcast
There you
then,
go.
Jimbo.
There you go.
Well, when you started making hats, was that a pretty big learning curve, or did you just jump right in making pretty good hats, or did you have to throw a few away?
Oh, no. I threw several away. The homeless look good down there. They'd go to my trash can and dig through it. They did. It was too funny. I looked out there one morning, and the two guys, I guess I'd thrown 2 hats away, and they were back there trying to get them down at the bottom of the trash can. But it took me, honestly, probably 10 years before I ever got
Really?
real good. Yeah, it's trial and error. There's a lot to making a hat.
Sure.
And I had to do almost all my work by hand because I didn't buy equipment. I couldn't buy equipment.
Right.
But the main things that I have is the blocking machine that I acquired, and a crown iron machine, and a sweatband machine,
Sewing machine.
and a sewing machine.
They make a specific. Sewing machine that will only sew sweatbands in.
Yeah.
Because of the way the angle of the needle goes in, it puts it right up next to where the brim and the crown come together, and where the crimp line is. When we talk about the crimp line there, when it makes a 90 degree, and it sews that sweatband in there real tight. And a lot of people that don't have them have to put them in by hand, which is a real pain in the butt to do that. To sew them by hand and get them in there tight enough.
Well, and they won't stay once you start
Yeah.
sweating and stuff. They'll come undone.
They used to use a bunch of toxic materials to make
Oh,
a
yeah.
hat, didn't they?
Well, cleaning it.
Cleaning a hat?
That it still is toxic.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You have to wear a respirator or
Yeah.
a mask that filters it out.
Yeah.
Do you guys still clean a lot of hats, or do you just clean the hats that you make?
We do. No, we clean.
Everybody's.
Yeah, we clean a lot of hats a year.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
I don't even have a number to tell you, but yeah,
At
that's,
least 400.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, I'd bet. Yeah.
At one time, we were doing at least 400 of them at one time, which is a lot of hats.
That is a lot of hats.
And they have to go back in there.
More than a hat a day.
They take them all the way out, and they take all the sweatband and liner out of them, hand scrub them, let them air dry, and then put them all back together according to the size that person needs.
It is amazing how you can send the dirtiest hat you've ever seen, and it comes back. If they can't get it all out, it's a fluke because it just comes back looking brand spanking new.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's not many renovation people anymore. They just don't want to take the time to do it, but there's money to be made,
They want you to buy a new one, though, too.
They do,
that's
but
true.
I'll do whatever.
Sure.
I'll clean it or sell it or whatever.
Right. Did you face much pushback getting started because you're a woman?
Oh, yeah. Actually, Texas was my worst critics.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I just remember when we started out, my oldest sister, kind of went with me a few times at some shows, and she'd hear guys make comments, and I mean, she'd threaten them. Don't you mess with my little sister.
No.
Yeah. So, yeah, but, here's what's ironic is all four of the people that work for me are all four from Texas that shape hats.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's pretty funny.
We won't hold that against them.
No. I got a good crew, and of course Bobbie's been with me 22 years now.
Something like that, 22
Yeah,
years.
and she has been an amazing help to get things rolling too, and helping me and going to shows. And she's got a gift of gab that I really don't have. I'm just not much of it, sit down and just talk about. I don't know. I wasn't raised that way, I guess.
Right. What do you do down there, Bobbie? Just whatever needs doing?
I'm a jack of all trades and
Run
the
it
masters
all.
of none,
Well.
So. I just, I do a little bit of everything. I can work all the equipment except for the sewing machine. So I can do anything like as far as making the hats, I can pull one. I can sand the crown on one or the brims and that kind of stuff because we all do it all by hand. But when I first started, I didn't know how to shape open crowned hats. So I watched Shorty enough, on the road that I started shaping the crowns, and I got pretty good at it because when I met her, I worked for Cavender's in Fort Worth, and I kind of was the only girl that ever got behind the hat bar. Now I don't know if there's anybody that works. There are people that work for Cavender's that get women that will shape some hats, but not that many. And so the guys that worked there, Jack and Marco, they was like, "Come on, we'll show you, we'll help you." And so they, I had a little desire right there, and I met Shorty at the cutting fraternity one year. A friend of mine came to town, and she was asking me about hats. I said, "I don't know, there's no gal down there at the cutting fraternity that makes her hats, and she sells them to the Maverick." That's how I knew that she was there. She used to sell to Maverick Western there in Fort Worth, and I said, "We'll go pick her brain apart about how to make these, or how they work, how to make hats." I don't know. So anyhow, that's how we first met, was at the cutting fraternity one year, and I had friends of mine and relatives that used to show, and so I'd go down there and watch my friends, and during the cattle change, that's a good 30, 45 minute time frame. You'd go over to the trade center and walk through, and she was over there cleaning hats one day. I said, "Hey, if you need help, I'll help you clean them. I can clean a hat." So anyhow, that's how we kind of met, and it's just been uphill climb ever since. And I was working part-time at Cavender's, and I sold out. I worked for a company called Dan Carey Sporting Goods, and I did outside team sales to the school districts and stuff down there. And so she offered me a job. I had nothing keeping me there for anything. So I said, "Oh, what the heck? I can always go back to teaching school or coaching, or selling sportswear." So I moved to Oklahoma City, and it's been an uphill climb ever since. It's something I was grateful that I did, for sure. I think God has a path for us, and I took the right path.
I met old Mike Cavender a couple times, and he sure is high on y'all.
Yeah,
They love him. Him and his wife sure love you guys.
And he dresses like what they used to dress years ago.
It surprised me that we don't see Shorty's Caboy hats in Cavender's now.
I'm
Since
too
he's
high.
He's too high. You're too high.
I'm too expensive.
Yeah.
Well,
They
you get what you
probably
pay
would.
for
That's
That's exactly
true.
in
right.
a hat, no doubt about it.
For sure. So that's how I came about going to work for Shorty's. And it was like, about that same time, Shorty's sister, Shirley, that worked for us, she had cancer, and her cancer came back. And it was just about the same time that anyway, it was good. It was all good. It was like the perfect timing. She needed my help, and it was something that I could step in there and help her out. And I think that year was at 2004 when Shirley passed away. And that same year, Shorty was diagnosed with cancer, and so was my mom, all in the same year. We lost Shirley. Shorty was diagnosed in September, then my mother lost Shirley in November, then my mom was diagnosed in December of that year, 2004. So it was like, here we are. We're going to go down this path together. So it was good for everybody. Not that cancer's good, but I still have my mom, and we still got Shorty with us. So it was a win-win.
Tell us about that with your sister in the pink hat and all the cancer charity work that's come about because of that.
Well, first of all, she didn't have insurance, which I didn't know at the time. But, she has land out the other side of Fairfax, and she was afraid that expense would take her land away and her home and all that, so she chose not to have anything done until I'd come home from a show in November, and she said, I need you to come here and look at something. And she showed me her breast, and it was seeping stuff, and I thought, oh, Lord. Of course, I was hoping it wasn't cancer. But anyway, so I took her to doctors and on top of doctors, and, she let it go too long, so then it metastasized to her spine and then her brain. So it was took a couple of years there. But I looked after and took care of her. And then when we buried her, I think it was just a few days after that, I had to go in and get a double mastectomy because of my situation. And if I did that, I wouldn't have to do chemo, they said. So that's what I did. But see, that's where Bobbie came in. She helped me, and because my sister worked for me, and we're all a real close-knitted family. My family is. I had wonderful parents raised, growing up, and my brother and sisters, and so I just it's hard. It was hard to lose my sister. Yeah.
But you did some cancer.
I did. Yeah. Okay. So. After she died, I had her hat and a picture of her, and some pretty scarves that had cancer ribbons on it and all that. So I made a little display in my shop, and my goal was to help people that didn't have insurance. So I thought,
people would order those little hats, and we would sell them. And whatever, like I said, I think we were like $600 or $700 at the time, and we would put $400 back into the cancer fund. Like half the money we sold them for, we put it back into the cancer fund. So she had about $13,000. We'd raised about that kind of much money. Then we had these little cancer pins that had little cowboy boots on them, and
my God, I've sold thousands of those.
We sold thousands of them. And so she had about $13,000 worth of money in the kitty, and so a friend of ours that was. She actually, at the time, I think, lived in Colorado, but she worked at the cancer center in Oklahoma City. It was brand new. It was before it ever even opened a new building now. And we had this little deal on the wall. It had talked about, it was an article in some magazine, and I had it framed, and we had it up on the wall. And Tracy was sitting there reading it, and she said like something. She goes, Shorty, I've got a spot where you can put that money.
No, she asked me, remember, she says, well, what are you going to do?
Oh, yeah, what are you
What's your plans? And I said, well, I was hoping that maybe AQHA would help, maybe fund it or something. Let me run an endowment through them. But anyway, they couldn't. And she says, well, I think I've got the perfect thing for you. And so that's how that began, the Rein in Cancer. And that provides nutritional care at the cancer center in Oklahoma City and at no cost. And a lot of, what's the other items? We give them all.
We give a benevolent fund that they can send their pathology report to Rein in Cancer, and they'll send them just a check for $500 to $1,000 just to use whatever. So a lot of people, we all, as you guys know, that live in rural Oklahoma or in rural America, period, that have horses and cattle, they don't have insurance, and they rather spend it on their horses or cattle and stuff like that because that's how because you can't afford it.
Right.
Can't afford insurance.
Yep.
And so we had the benevolent fund there that they can use to use it for gas money, buy horse feed, hay, whatever they need to do. If they come to the city, they got money to buy to have, because they have to drive, maybe 300 miles to get from, let's say, Guyman to Oklahoma City to the cancer center, and they need a place to stay, and so it's wherever they need it for. And then at the cancer center there, at the Stevens Cancer Center there, they also provide nutritional counseling, which a lot of insurance won't pay for any nutritional stuff, and so that's all goes through Rain and Cancer, and Rain and Cancer pays for that for those people that need nutritional counseling, especially like head and neck and stomach cancer patients that can't chew their food. They have to have a feeding tube or something like that, and they don't know how do you, when you come in off the road and you go, I don't even know how do I do this, And so they teach them how to do things. Like I think we bought in the last probably 3 or 4 years, probably at least 60 or 80 blenders that they just give away, like $20 blenders, they just give them away, and because they need it to blend their food up so they can be able to swallow their food. So it's kind of a cool deal.
I read where you guys have raised well over $1 million for this.
Absolutely.
Well over $1 million.
Way over $1 million now.
If one of our listeners wants to donate to this, how do they do that?
Well, Rain in Cancer is online. You can
Rain
go-
in Cancer?
Yeah, it's REIN in Cancer.
Okay.
Rain in
Horse rain.
Cancer.
Yeah, like you're reining you have to, any kind of horse you ride, you have to rein it somehow.
Yeah.
So it's
So
not
that's
like,
what we named it.
That's so awesome.
But it's been, and there's the horse people is the ones that's done this. They've just been so gracious to give. So, I want to give back to those people. Because without them, I wouldn't have my endowment in my sister's name.
Yeah, how proud your sister would
Yeah.
be of
Yeah.
this, for sure. That's awesome.
Good job, Shorty.
Thank
and
you.
Bobbie.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, tell us about how a hat comes into your store. Is it a
Well,
blank?
it's-
Is it just a big piece of?
Yeah,
I don't
I'll tell you what it looks like. An old, them old flower pots that made of straw that's all,
Not really a shape. They just have
no, there's no shape. The
Right.
crown is punched
I would
up.
call it like a hillbilly looking hat. Like
Yeah.
they look like someone from the mountains. They look like one of those hats. The bodies when they come in, they're all floppy and
Yeah.
they just
And
got
they're
a
hairy.
little bit of a head deal.
Now,
Yeah.
are they colored then, or do you put
No,
the color to them?
it's all done. No, we don't. We just make the hat. They have
Okay.
to dye all that back
Okay,
at the
it's dyed.
factory.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Before you get it. Okay.
Yeah, because it's cooked into the hat, actually.
Right.
the dye is.
Yeah.
Right. Okay,
So
I got you.
The dye
anyway,
and the
that's
black
how we
too.
get it, and then from there starts off in that blocking machine.
What's it made out of when you get it? What's the material?
Well, it's either beaver blend with rabbit or pure beaver, or we are now making a beaver mink.
Okay. I've heard these minks are really nice
they're
hats.
a 60-40 blend because mink won't blend, what they call felting, won't felt unless it has something to go with it, because the beaver fur, if you look under a microscope, have little barbs, what they call barbs on it. So when they go to compress them back together, it gets tighter and tighter and tighter. So what you have on your head there is what it gets that tight. And then the more steam and the more pressure you put on it will make it harder and harder.
But the body itself is made with hot boiling water, and ringers like the old. Well, you don't know the old timey ringers.
Yeah, I know what an old timey ringer
Okay.
is. Yeah.
Anyway,
You never use it.
I never used one either.
Yeah.
but-
Well, I had one. I worked at this car dealership one time,
Oh, yeah.
detailing cars, and I had to run this
Yeah.
squeegee through the ringer
Right.
to
Yeah.
get it all the
Chamois.
water out of
The
it.
chamois.
Yeah, my chamois.
The
Yeah.
chamois.
Dang chamois.
Yeah.
Well, what does, if you see 20X beaver or 100X beaver, what does that exactly mean?
well, in my hats, it means 20X is all rabbit. There's not really any beaver fur in a 20X or a 10X or any of that. But anyway, if there is, it's very small. And then the 50X is blended with rabbit and beaver fur.
Well, how do they get by calling it 20X beaver if it's not beaver?
Well,
No
people-
regulation?
No, there's no regulation on the X's. I could put 1,000X in.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
I was just wondering because growing up, 100X was as good as you could get, and I never even heard of anything over 100X until the last, I don't know, maybe
10
20 years,
years, yeah.
10 years. Now
Yeah.
I'm seeing 1000X hats, and and all that.
5,000X.
And I'm just wondering, what is it? Just the work they put into it? You just put way more work into that.
Well, it's actually to get more money.
Okay.
Marketing.
Marketing.
What's the highest X hat y'all make?
I just do 100X and then I do a mink. I don't,
Okay.
But we don't call it. We don't give it
I
an
don't
X
put
factor.
X's on them because 100% is 100%.
Yes.
So, but it's just, it's just a gimmick to get more money.
Okay.
Which, you can't
But
blame
it's a
them.
60-40 blend. It's a nice.
It's
The
nice.
mink hats are nice hats. They're thinner, a little thinner, lightweight. Of course, they cost more money because the mink costs more money. And so it's I think we as far as the curve, as far as like the price wise, I think our hats are for the quality. We're at the bottom on the price wise. We're at the very bottom. Like some of the other companies that sell them are way higher than what we are, or even retailers that sell them. They may sell like we sell ours for like $2,000. They may sell theirs for $3,500.
Really?
Yeah. So
Well, it's just, I I understood when I was growing up what it was like to. I wouldn't call ourselves poor, but we didn't have a lot of luxuries in life. So when I started making my hats, I wanted to make them affordable. So I've increased the price as I've gotten better at what I've done. So, and I when I started, I took me and my two sisters and went to Winchester, Tennessee. That's where the hat bodies come from, and toured the building, and so I could learn what exactly went into a hat, because I didn't want to go out there telling people I didn't know what I was talking about, or they, So that's how I began all this. Is I went there. That was my beginning, and I'll never forget the guy that owned it. Then he said, "Now, Shorty, you're not a custom hat maker." I said, "Really?" Okay. Well, what does that mean? He said, "That means if you don't make and sell a 100 or custom hat every day, then I can call you a custom hatter. But right now, you're not. No, you're nothing. You're not that." I said, "Okay, well," I thought I had to really think about that, and I thought I better get myself busy. So now we're making about 2,500 hats a year.
Oh, dang.
Do you sell those mostly out of the store, or when you go off on these trade shows and stuff?
Well, both, but my store has really increased. Since I moved to the new location, I've got a self-standing store with a big parking lot. It's tremendously helped my business out of my shop. But we go to probably, all of us go to probably 50 shows a year.
yeah, I think the
Wouldn't
boys
you
last
say?
year was like they were gone. Let's say they were gone to a show, 258 days in 2023. In 23, they were gone 258 days.
Dang.
And that's two different trailers going on the road. We have 3 trucks and 3 trailers that go if we need them. We have a guy right now in Florida at a show down there, and he's had a great show.
And we've never done that show. He wanted to do it, and I thought, well, okay.
Try and see.
I'm not going. Got to have a break.
But it will start, when the new year starts with the IFR will be the first. Well, we have a show that starts this weekend. The Cattlemen's Congress there in Oklahoma City, big cattle show there, and we used to have a booth there. We've had it for the last 4 years, 4 years because they moved here during COVID from Denver, and they moved that cattle show here, and it's been a really good show. And so we've got a booth out there, and then we do the IFR, and then after that, it's just we go to the Art of the Cowgirl in Wickenburg, Arizona, and then then the boys head to the Snaffle or the World's Greatest Horseman in Fort Worth, and then we go to Houston Stock Show.
It just goes on and
And from
on.
there, it just
You're fixing to get busy, it sounds like.
Yes.
And,
And do y'all travel a lot to the shows
oh,
yourselves?
yeah, those are the ones that we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we go to the Art of the Cowgirl, then we go to Houston, and we come home. We have about a month off. We'll go to.
We always go, and if it's not a big show, then I don't. But if it's something that I need to be to and feel like I need to be there, then I will. But we go to and everybody keeps telling me to slow down and take some time off, and I said, no, I can't. You quit work, then you just quit living.
That's right. That's right.
Have you all seen a correlation to it seemed like the Western way of life's kind of on an upswing right now. Have you seen a correlation like the success of Yellowstone, that kind of stuff.
Yes,
Have you noticed
absolutely.
that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it has made a big difference. Because I'm telling you, right now, there's probably 200 people in the hat business.
Yeah.
Custom hatters, they say.
Well, they're not, because what they do is someone makes the hat, they put their sweatband in it,
Right.
and then they tell people that are custom hats, and I'm going,
It seems like half of my Facebook feed and stuff is these custom hat makers, and they're
junking up the hats.
looks like they just take an iron, a regular iron, steam iron, and they're steaming it, and then they spray something on it, and they start it on fire, and then they put all
Yeah.
these doodads on it, and
That's right.
yeah, half of my when I'm scrolling through Facebook, there's these little videos. There's these guys making hats. For some reason, they think I'm interested in these weird hats they're making, but
Oh,
Well, a lot of the
horrible.
little boutique style hats, you know, like they'll go in and put all kinds of embellishments on them, and I'm not saying that that's all bad, but I mean, everybody has their own clientele, I guess. But we're kind of keeping ours where we're more traditional, and we do little things that some people don't do. Like we have like the hat that Shorty's wearing. We have the Cowboy Hall of Fame logo embedded on the back corner of it on the crown, and
I love that hat.
I know, isn't that cool?
That's a pretty hat.
It looks
Anyway.
like it's just like one of the best made hats I've ever seen in my life.
It's so thin, too.
Yeah,
I love that.
What makes a good hat?
beaver
Well, you
fur.
got to have the best fur. The fur's got to
Yeah.
be good.
I love it, Shorty.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
that's a pretty
But
hat.
I can tell you when Shorty first started making, when I first went to work for her, I can only speak from the last however many years, the hats were really thin, but the quality of fur was better, I think, back
Yeah,
then.
was.
So I think since, I would say pre-COVID or back in the gap, you know, the hats were thin, and they're not, to me personally, they're not as thin as they used to be. I mean, you can try to get them thin like that, but then sometimes you get into the lacquer, and there's people out there that, you know, that they get their hats look splotchy or something like that, and it's because they got into the lacquer on them, and they don't look had that perfect finish like what we like. And I'm not going to say and in my own opinion, this is my own opinion, I think we make the best hat out there, but also it's all done by hand, so there's going to be some discolorations or things like that if you do it all by hand. You know, and we don't powder our hats, so they're like when you wear a black hat in the rain, it ain't going to come down on your white shirt or your field jackets. You know, it's not going to turn it black, or the white's not going to come off on your shirt if you have a powdered white hat on. So, when you see our hats finished, that's the color they are, and it makes a difference on what they look like too. But
Well, and dirt won't stick to our hats as
it's
bad.
bad, like arena
Because
dirt.
there's no powder.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that go into that kind of stuff. But going back to what you said, like things that we do a little bit different, just like the beadwork. We used to have a lady named Rick Rages that used to do some chain stitch stuff on our hats, and it's probably been, probably over 15 years ago that she stopped doing it because the girl that used to do that for her passed away, and then of course Denise got out of the business. And so we were, I don't know, we have a lot of windshield time because we're always on the road traveling. And I told Shorty, I said, how about if we could just bring that old nudie chain stitch back on the brims of the hats? And I said, I follow a girl on Instagram, and I said, I wonder if we get in touch with her and maybe she could do some stuff for us. And so the light bulb went off in Shorty's head, and so we got a hold of Cammie.
Okay.
Mike and Cammie, and so they got us in touch with a lady that does that, and we've made a couple of those hats, and they have come. Actually, are they for everybody? No, but it's for that person that goes, I want that because I got the perfect outfit for it, And so, and we brought them out. The first time was when we were at the Run for the Million this year, and we sold every one we had. And we had 2 on display that belonged to Cammie that we did 2 hats for her that matched her boot tops, and I mean they're beautiful, and I'll show you some pictures of them. But yeah, the old chain stitch, it's got its place.
Have hat styles changed a lot since y'all got started?
Well, yeah, because way back when I started, the brims was never over 4 inches.
Right.
Yeah, I always
At
just want
best.
4-inch, and now
Yeah.
it seems like anytime I went to buy one, the minimum they have is 4.5, 5-inch brim anywhere.
Oh yeah, for sure. 4.5 is like the minimum now.
Anyway, and the crowns, they come down. The crown heights have come down on hats, but I've noticed the last year or two that crowns are getting taller again. I mean, like Mike Cavender, he ordered a 6.5-inch crown. He said, "I'll take a 7 if you can
I
get it."
As tall as you want it, I'll take it.
But you can't, you can only take them so high. So, and they have to be special pulled. You can't just, they don't make them, make them that way. So, but yeah, most of the hats are at least 6-inch crowns.
Yeah, and also too, like the brims, everybody wants like a 4.5 or 5-inch brim, but if you get a 6-inch crown, and depending on how big the person's head is, you may not get that 5-inch brim. Everybody says, "Oh, I got a 5-inch brim on," and you go, you put a ruler to it. Like even back in the day when Resistol or Stetson or whoever had a hat, when you put a stick to it, it was like 3 7/8. It wasn't 4 inches. I had a guy we did a renovation on. He had a Butch Door hat, and or maybe it was I don't know whatever brand hat it was. I don't remember. It wasn't one of ours. And he said, "Well, you cut the brim off." I said, "No. Look at your ticket," and it said 3 7/8. And I put the ruler to it. It was 3 7/8. I said because we always check it because of that reason right there. And just like now, if you say if you order a hat, like we sell a little Rodeo King hat there, and it says 4 7/8 brim on the box, but everybody thinks it's a 5-inch brim. Just because an eighth of an inch makes a difference. But
I want it, Bob. Okay.
Sorry, we got somebody setting up a booth. They're asking about where to put the trailer.
That's all right.
Yeah, Cody gets messages all the time on his
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah, we got like 4 or 5 businesses here in town, so everyone seems like everyone tries to call me about time the podcast starts.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is the brims are bigger, but like I had a guy call the other day. He goes, "Well, I want a 4 3/4 inch brim." I said, "Well, depends on how their head shapes are too. If their head's really long and narrow, you're not going to get that 4 7/8 front to back because the length of the hat takes that part out, and people don't really realize that."
All the hats now have this flat in front, and when I was a kid, none of the hats were like that. Yeah, they're rounded. When did that start, and is that just us? They're going to be here forever, or will that gradually
I think it started probably in the quarter horse shows.
Yeah, the quarter horse people.
Quarter horse people brought it in, and of course
squared off and tight.
The team ropers will they won't wear it they'll wear it way wider and not quite so severe right there on the corners.
Right.
But yeah, every discipline's got something a little different about them.
It took me a while to get used to that because I grew up the cowboy style. It just
Yeah.
Yeah, roll.
it wasn't. And
Well, everybody
Marlboro-
around here
the
probably
Marlboro
wears
man.
it that way.
yeah. But now
Yeah.
that's about all you see now is that.
Yeah, the rodeo people are, they started that big, especially the bull riders, started that real wide brim, just barely curled up on the side, but real flat in the front.
Right.
And I think now what I'm seeing more now in the rodeo people are like J.C. Yaquo that made the finals. He likes his kind of rounded up like the old, like the working cowboys wear theirs, like really rounded in the front. Not so much like they did, like the Marlboro man did back in the 70s or even the 60s. But so this, this real soft corners, it just kind of rolls in the front like a smiley face without any corners on it, I guess you would say.
Right. Everybody's going to go to
back.
that style of hat because that J.C. Yaquo is the best header going down the road right now. Holy moly, that guy can rope so good.
He's good. He's a good kid, too.
Everyone's going to be wanting a hat just like his, probably.
What's the most popular color hat?
Well, of course, everybody would say black, but we do sell more black hats than any other color. However,
We try not to miss a sale on a black hat because that's everybody wants it.
Yeah, but I try to steer women away from black because the other colors just brightens their face up, makes them look better than the blacks. I think black drags you down, and even they say wearing black hats make you look shorter. I don't need to look any shorter. So that's why I'm wearing a white hat. Hopefully it'll make me look taller.
A little taller in the saddle. No, but I mean, everybody, like in the show world that we do a lot of, the quarter horse show people and the paints and the pintos and the ones that do the all-around stuff, their hats, 90% of them have to wear a black hat because that's like a staple for them. And it's always a good color for a start color for somebody like in that industry because it kind of goes with everything. But also there's a light colored hat like what we're wearing, Cody and Shorty and I. That hat will go with any color too. The hat color will go with anything you put with it. But these trainers want black chaps and black hat,
I wear a white hat year round.
Yeah.
I do too.
I like it. My other one, I just retired almost. from here and here and here, it's got, I don't even know how thick it is from all my finger oils. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
black here, black right there for where I take
From
it off.
hanging on to it.
Yep.
You have no excuse not to come to my shop now.
No, I'll call you and I'm going to get down there real soon.
Yeah.
I want to make sure you're around though.
Oh, absolutely.
I was going to stop a couple times.
The price
and I
will be
called you.
way better if I'm there, I
Oh
promise.
yeah. I ain't worried about the price. I just want to get a hat from y'all, no doubt about it.
Yeah, we build a nice hat. I mean, we have a gentleman that wears our hats, and he's gotten into the Western industry pretty heavy, and so I asked him. I didn't ask him. I asked his ranch manager and said, "Well, how did he know about Shorty's Hattery? Why did he? Out of all the hat people in the world, he could have gone to anybody." And so John told him. He said, "Well, I told him if he wanted the best hat in the industry, because he asked him, should I buy an American? Should I buy a Resistol?" And he said, if you want the best hat in the industry, you need to come to Shorty's. And so he has, and he's bought lots of hats from us, and he's promoted our business. Some, or I would say, yeah, some. And anyway, but going back to what you were asking a while ago about Yellowstone. Mm-hmm. So they came out with The Last Cowboy, and then some of the guys on Yellowstone that we sponsor and the Rainers have been on his show, and also in the cow horse stuff have been on Yellowstone. And it's kind of cool to see us going down the pen in Yellowstone up in Montana, and you got the McCutcheons, you got Andrea, you got Sean Flaherty, you got Bob Avila, and Tracer Gilson, and those guys that are all in our hats that are wearing a Matt Mills, and they're on national TV on a special show that's like blown our whole world up. You know.
Wow.
And then in The Last Cowboy, they did The Last Cowboy, and we're in that. I think we're in that several times, like showing us shaping hats for different people or whatever, or at a show that they're competing in. And then also too, the Run for the Million has all those tailors put that Run for the Million on, and then of course Thomas Tull bought the American, and then the American, they've got the American Performance Horse, and I think everybody in the reining deal in the last couple of years have been in our hats. And I'll see what else. The cow horse and the cutters. We've had several cutters in there, and not so many in the cow horse show, but
How about movie stars?
everybody's a star.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Lyle Lovett, I know they made hats for Lyle Lovett.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that, like, when all these NBA players and NFL players are walking into the game now, half of them are wearing cowboy hats. I've been seeing on TV and everything else lately.
Yeah. Yeah.
NBA players wearing cowboy hats showing up to games.
Yeah. What the
That's
heck?
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our motto is, if everybody's asked that question. Well, what stars do you wear? What stars wear your hats? Well, we do have a few stars that wear our hat, but Shorty's deal is if everybody's a star that puts our hat on, because it just makes you feel like a star when you're wearing them.
Yeah, I've always said that. That's always the first question. Anybody will ask you, well, what movie stars you make
Famous
hats for?
person. Who's famous?
I said, they're all famous.
Right.
Yeah.
They've made hats for quite a few famous people. I imagine at these shows, like you Run for the Million and all that, you ran across quite a few very well-known people you sold hats to.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt about it.
It's funny, the other day, I walked up front of the shop, and there's a guy, actually, it was within an hour this happened. Two different people came in with my hats. It was at least 20, 25 years old. Still had them. They still look great. And they said, we don't need another hat. We got the best. We don't need another? I said, we got more colors. No, I like this one. That's pretty cool, though, when you have someone that comes in that has been with us that long.
Yeah, so Shorty had a guy, what's Tim's last name?
Tim.
Oh my God, I just went blank. Sorry about that. Hopefully we're going to edit this out because that's not very good.
Not Tim Tallchief.
No.
He's our friend, though, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I
he's
know.
a good
And a
fella.
good friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get him to do a podcast with us.
He would be
Oh,
Talk
yeah.
about the tall chiefs over there in Fairfax.
Oh, yes.
I ran into him in Vegas one time at the sports book at Caesars. He didn't know who I was, and I didn't know who he was. And he was leaving. He handed me some drink tickets. I'm not going to use these, and of course I wasn't drinking either. But we just got talking. Of course, he knew the Snideleys, and I knew the tall chiefs. I just didn't know him, but known him ever since.
Right. He's good. They're good people.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can't remember what I was going to talk about, but I think one of Shorty's first customers that just passed away the year that she went into the Cowgirl Hall of Fame.
Tim Lynch.
Tim Lynch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell them the story about Tim Lynch.
Okay. So he came to my shop when I was up on Britton Road, my first time I'd moved. And he came in there and he said, if you can make a hat to fit my head, he said, I'll be your very first customer. Now, you got to understand, his head was round and square. It was round, but in the very back it was flat. And, of course, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I said, I bet I can do it. I said, just give me a chance. You don't have to pay me anything. Just let me see if I can do it. And you know what? I made it. It fit him perfect. I don't know how I did it, but it fit him perfect. And I had him as not only a lifelong customer, but a lifelong, very, very dear friend. It was so cool. And I hated that he wasn't there for my induction because
He passed away
a few months before.
like a month before she went
Yeah.
in.
But he was loyal to me and good to me and always came, gave me hugs and everything. He was a great man. Yeah.
But he had his very first hat. He still had it the day he died.
Yeah.
And he had several hats, since then. But one of the very first ones he ever had was I believe it was a natural, and he still owns it. He still had it.
What about that induction? Could you believe you got a call
Holy
from the
cow.
Cowgirl Hall of Fame?
No.
Little old girl from Gray Horse over
Gray
here.
horse over here. I just know that.
Bootlegging beer down to Texas, and
Wrangler
all of a
jeans.
sudden
Wrangler jeans.
you're going to be in the Cowgirl Hall of Fame. What was that like, Shorty?
Well, actually, at the time that we got the phone call, we was at her mom and dad's, and we was playing Mexican dominoes. And so Ellen,
Jennifer called and said,
Oh, Jennifer called and told Ellen to tell me to call the Cowgirl Hall of Fame. They needed to talk to me. And so,
that Pat Riley called her.
yeah, and I thought, well, they just want a donation. So I just kept on playing dominoes. This happened in the morning. I finally called at 3 in the afternoon. And she said, Shorty, or she called me Lavana, which she does that just to annoy me. Anyway, she said, we're going to induct you into the Cowgirl Hall of Fame this year. And I didn't say a word. I just sit there.
You didn't even know you were nominated or anything.
Oh, you know how long it took me to get in? About 23 years.
Yeah.
It ain't easy to get in there, I'm
no,
telling you.
no.
Yeah. Anyway, I just sit there for a minute and I said,
She goes, "Are you there, Shorty?"
yeah, she said, are you still there? I said, yes, I just don't know what to say. Yeah, I mean, I was shocked to death. Because, one of my worst people I had that always said I didn't know how to make a hat was Carol Rose. And, of course, she's known all over the world. And so she used to walk by my booth, and she'd never look over there. She'd just keep on walking. And what did she told me? She says, I didn't think a bitch from Oklahoma knew how to make a hat. So I didn't, and that was like 16 years. And finally, now she's got many hats, and she's my dear friend. But she was a tough one. Yeah.
Some of folks' best friends. That's how the friendship starts. It seems like.
Yeah, she's been a good one.
Yeah.
And a good promoter of our business, too. She promoted us really heavily.
Well, one of the biggest names in the horse business, right there. No doubt about
Yeah,
it.
it is. Pretty
Historic
funny.
name in the horse business is what it is.
But you know what I like about her? She says just what's on her mind. And that's the kind of people I like. I don't like phony people.
You kind of seem like it. You
I'm
don't
that
pull
way.
any
Oh,
punches.
yeah. Don't ask if you don't really want to know.
I don't ever want to make Shorty mad. I can tell you that.
No.
No.
She'll make you pay for it.
I'm very sweet.
All those girls from over that Fairfax area, they're all tough.
Oh,
You don't
they're
want to
tougher
cross
than
them.
dirt.
Yeah, they are. My sisters were tough, too.
So your store's down in the Oklahoma City Stockyards.
Absolutely.
I've been reading, is there a bunch of changes coming to the Oklahoma City Stockyards? Are they going to make it more like the Fort Worth Stockyards?
I hope
What's
not. I really don't want it to be.
It's still a functioning stockyard, isn't it?
Yes, but they're talking
One of the
about
few.
not even selling cattle out there, and that's a big draw to that area. I don't want them to commercialize everything. It's just great the way it is. But I know, you know,
I think it's coming down the pike.
Yeah, everything changes for a reason, but.
Well, you'll be the biggest store down there anyway.
Well, yeah, I hope.
Headliner.
Right.
No doubt about it.
Between her and Langston's are big, and National Saddlery about the biggest stores there.
What about if someone wants to get a hat from you? What's the best way of going about doing it?
Well, if you cannot come in the store, then we'll send you a kit where you can measure your head and something inside there that will show us, they'll put on their head to show us the shape of the head, and then mail it back to us. And yeah, all you got to do is call the shop and we'll send all that out to you with the instructions on how to do that. And now I have, for whatever reason, I've been fortunate enough to look at someone and know, you know, what would look good on them. So if they don't want to do that stuff, then they can get me a head measurement and send me a picture of them. I can figure out what oval they need. So either way works.
All right.
Pretty easy.
Hey, where do y'all stay at when you're on the road? You're on the road over 200 days a year.
Well, we try to get apartments or.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot better than the
Usually
motels, isn't it?
Usually corporate apartment or Airbnbs or something
Yeah.
like that. Because,
Oh, okay. That's good. That's good.
because you can cook, like when we go to Congress, we stay at a corporate apartment up there, and we can cook every night, and we can do our laundry, and you say it's like you're being at home, but
It's a lot better.
But you still got
Yeah.
to take all your stuff, so all your clothes, and you got to, you know. Usually we take a box that's got all like cooking stuff in it, and like not everybody's equipped for the right kind of skillets or pots and pans, so we sometimes take a little extra stuff in there. But
We're professional at this,
yeah,
I tell you.
we're like gypsies. We're like gypsies with teeth, I guess.
they're glorified carnies, is what they are.
There you go.
Exactly. Just stay in a little nicer places, I guess. Yeah.
That's right.
But I tell you, our business, and we've met so many people from all over the world that people invite us to stay in their place. We could go from the East Coast to the West Coast and never have to check in a hotel. We had that many friends along the way, which is it's really good because you never know when you get on the side of the road, you got to have some help.
This cowboy and cowgirl world's a small world. It really is. Just your cousin's Tony Reyna,
Yeah.
good friend of mine. You know, it is a small world out there. Lots of great people too. The best people.
Lots of great
Like
people.
Bailey has been on the road last summer. She tried to run all the big rodeos and stuff out west, and I said, look, if you get something you can't handle, I know your dad knows a lot of people, but I know a lot of people too that may not be where your dad's at. And so I said, you call me, I'll help you get some help if you need help or something. And we've had lots of people call and say, hey, I need a horse hauled here, or a horse hauled there, or I need a layover. Can you help me find a place to lay over? I mean, we know all the rodeo people know how to do all that, but every once in a while you get in a bind, you can't, and you need help. Like you have a axle on your tire or axle on your trailer that gives you the finger, and you're like, oh, I got to do something about that, you know.
Yep.
So you got to have some help.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Well, Jimbo, you got anything else for these girls?
I was going to ask Shorty, what about your legacy? How do you want to be remembered as a hatter someday?
A sweet, lovable girl.
Good enough.
Well, I try to help a lot of people, and I think I've got a reputation. People knows if they get in the bind, they can call me. Whatever the situation, it doesn't matter. That's just how I am about helping people. And I want to thank Cody. He's been trying to get me to do this podcast for a year now. And I'm not very good at interviews, so I keep dodging. But he finally trapped me, so here we are.
Yeah. Well, you did good. Both of you did.
And
we
I
sure
appreciate
appreciate
you. I appreciate you.
I like that shirt.
Thank you.
That's old school cowboy deal on there. Swirling logs, it looks like.
It does, doesn't it?
Pretty cool.
That kind of looks
Pretty
like
cool.
that. Yeah. No, her legacy will continue. It won't ever go away.
That's what I plan on
I
her
think the hat
doing.
shop will stay in the stockyards, and we're going to actually add on to the back of the building because we've already, in 10 years, we've already outgrown it, if you can believe that one. Our production's been really good, and our walk-in business has increased at our shop. And matter of fact, we're fixing to add a whole another steamer up front because we need another steamer on Fridays and Saturdays because the walk-in business has gotten so good.
Is it ever hard to get hat bodies and stuff?
Oh my, yes.
The
It's getting a little bit easier, but I'm telling you, the last 3 or 4 years,
COVID killed us.
yeah.
Killed a lot of people. I mean, honestly, it's not just us. Even the quality of the fur is not as good. And I've heard our friends at American said, they've shipped bodies back because they weren't good. And so it's been
but hopefully
battle.
it's going to get better. Yeah.
And the fur prices went from like $4 a pound to like $28 a pound. And from the ones that build the bodies or the ones that manufacture their hats said the increase in the product is going to cause the hats to go up extremely high. And we've tried to hold off, but we have gone up. But they are saying eventually that the 100X Pure Beaver is going to cost about $3,000.
Wow.
Which, will it? I don't know. It depends on how people get greedy if they want to take them.
Ours won't, probably. Not if I'm above ground.
Well, you get what you pay for. I can say that.
That's it.
Really
That's
do.
right.
Well, everybody, get a hold of Shorty, Bobbie. Get you a hat ordered. Go down and see them. Just buy one. Go to one of their shows.
I got one more thing I want to say.
Yeah, Bobbie, go on.
So you're sitting here interviewing Shorty and I, and we're not we are the kind of the front force of the company, the face of the company, but we have a crew at our shop of women and men that work up there that they make our world go round, because if it weren't for those guys there, we wouldn't be able to be on the road. Now, the other thing too, we've got 3 young men that work for us that travel on the road. And like I said, I think in 2023, they were gone 258 days out of the year away from their, because 2 of them don't even live in Oklahoma City. One lives in Arkansas, one lives down in Texas, and they spend those many days away from their family. Now, not counting that some of those shows are in Oklahoma City, but yeah, they stay on the road and they make it happen for us, and it make it happen for the people at the shop. So we got to give a little shout out to those guys that go on the road for us, Kyle and Drake and Tyler, and then the guys at the shop, Scott and Josh and Brad, that work in the front of the shop, and then all the girls and Jason in the back that work there. What's crazy about our business is that, I've been there since 2003, but we have a young lady that's been there longer than I've been there, and she still works for us. And of course, we've lost a couple of players that work for us that have moved on, but which that happens. But for the most part, people come to work for Shorty's and they stay there because of because they're loyal to our business, and we appreciate what they do for us. And those guys that are on the road, you can trust them to go on the road and sell your product, and you can trust them to bring it home,
And not steal you blind.
That's important.
That's hard to find good help these days.
Very.
And that
sure.
speaks highly of you guys, because if you weren't treating them right, they wouldn't be staying.
Oh, exactly. Well, I believe in my employees come before I do.
Yeah,
Because without them, I wouldn't be where I'm at either.
I remember a time when I first went to work for Shorty in the summertime, she wouldn't pull a check because she made sure that everybody in the shop got paid.
There was about 8 or 10 years of our business that me and Lauren didn't pull a check, but we never missed a payroll for our employees.
Exactly.
So
They never had to borrow the money to pay them.
exactly.
So that's kind of a cool deal.
Yeah, it is.
We want to shout out for those guys at the shop that do.
You bet.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody.
Well, everybody get you a Shorty's hat. They're the new official hat of the Cowboys of the Osage podcast. Next one, I'll be wearing a Shorty's custom hat probably. So, and we'll give them a shout out every single episode from here on.
Thank you guys for having us over here.
Thank you
It was our
all.
pleasure. Thanks
was
for coming
fun.
over.
Yeah, it was a great time. It was sure good seeing
I
you
know, I
guys
don't know
again.
why I dreaded it.
Well, I don't know either. Last
Well,
time, it was so funny. Last time, I don't know. I just,
Well, I really
6-8
didn't
months
feel
ago,
good.
they came in.
Yeah,
We were scheduled to do it. We
We're
were sitting here ready, and
yeah.
Shorty took one look at this table and his microphone's over here, and she started not feeling good right then.
Yeah, just
I
wait till
got deathly sick.
wait till next week when Cowboys and Indians are going to start a documentary. That's going to be a.
Oh, yeah.
I know you guys have been featured in so many major magazines and stuff, Cowboys and Indians, and I mean, every
Garden
single
Gun.
major Western Way of Life magazine has had a feature. Y'all, now they're going to be doing a documentary. I don't know if we
Well,
can talk
that's
about
what
it
they
or not.
say.
When's
They
that
got to
gonna-
catch me first.
What issue will that be out in? do you know?
A documentary is going to be on
It's going to be
television.
on
Oh.
TV.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it'll be on television. I'm not real sure. They're going to start it next week, and of course, it's going to get blistering cold up here next week. And they want to come to Gray Horse and do some video and interviewing her there at the old schoolhouse, and then we'll go up to Naval Reserve up there on the hill where she used to live up there probably, and do some touring around. But Tim Tall Chief has kind of got us permission to. From the Osage Nation to be able to tromp around their grounds out there without getting in trouble. So
Cool.
we want to shout out to Tim and his bunch, thanking them again.
Okay.
Well,
Adios.
that's it.
Later.
We'll see everybody next